Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Our mission today, we're giving you the ultimate shortcut to expertise on a really fascinating film, the 2012 Oscar winner, Argo.
Right. It's this great mix of, geopolitical thriller and, honestly, Hollywood absurdity.
Exactly. And we're not just going to, recap the plot for you.
No, definitely not. I mean, the plot itself is based on the Iran hostage crisis, 1979 to 81, which is intense enough.
Yeah.
But we're diving into the sources, the reviews, the context around the film's success.
And especially focusing on its director and star, Ben Affleck, because his story is almost as improbable as the rescue mission itself.
It really is. So, yeah, we're looking at how critics saw the film, how it handles the real crisis, and crucially, Affleck's own career resurrection.
Okay, so for you listening, we've basically got three main areas we want to unpack.
Yeah.
First, that Affleck story, how he went from being kind of a joke to this really acclaimed director.
Second, the actual rescue plan, the one involving Hollywood. It's just wild.
Completely wild. And third, we have to talk about the film's relationship with the truth. Historical accuracy versus dramatic license.
Mm-hmm. Which is always a tricky balance with based on a true story films.
Right. So let's jump into that first point then, the whole Ben Affleck arc. Because like you said, the sources really highlight how remarkable it was.
It really is something. I mean, if you remember the early 2000s, Ben Affleck's reputation wasn't stellar, cinematically speaking.
That's putting it mildly. He was kind of a whipping boy, wasn't he? Even after winning that Oscar with Matt Damon for writing Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, people sort of conveniently forgot about the writing Oscar, didn't they? Especially when his acting choices started getting panned.
Panned is right. We're talking about a string of pretty major disappointments at the box office.
Oh, absolutely. Like a spectacular nosedive. Think Jiggly, think Daredevil. These films were critically savage.
He literally became a punchline. I mean, that Team America song.
Exactly. And in Hollywood, that kind of reputation is incredibly difficult to shake off. It felt, almost permanent.
It really did seem insurmountable.
Yeah.
But then things started to shift slowly.
Uh-huh. The sources point to Hollywoodland in 2006. He played George Reeves, the old TV Superman.
Right. And that performance suddenly got real critical attention for his acting. For the first time in ages, it felt like.
It was a definite sign, a little crack in the perception, but the major turning point, the big one, was when he stepped behind the camera.
Gone Baby Gone, 2007, his directorial debut.
And the reviews were just rave. People were genuinely stunned. They were like, wait, this Ben Affleck, he showed this nuance and control nobody expected.
And what's really interesting is how directing seemed to kind of rehabilitate his acting image, too.
Totally, because next came The Town. He directed and starred in that one. Big success, critically and commercially.
And suddenly, critics were praising his performance in it. The same critics who'd written him off years before.
Yeah, they talked about his intensity, his authenticity. It was a complete turnaround.
So it really backs up what the sources are saying. Maybe his biggest talent wasn't actually in front of the camera, but behind it. Crafting the story, building the tension.
Seems that way. He just understands pacing, atmosphere, all the things you need for a great thriller director.
And the ultimate proof, I guess, is where he landed after Argo. Critics, audiences, people now actually look forward to a Ben Affleck-directed film.
Right. The reviewer we looked at even predicted he'll win another Oscar before he retires. Not as the guy from Jiggly, but as this bona fide filmmaker.
It's an incredible professional comeback story. Really stunning.
Which, leads us nicely into the other improbable story here, the one the film is actually about. The crisis and this just insane Hollywood solution.
Okay, so let's set the scene for you. It's 1979, Iran. Revolution's happening. The Shah's been overthrown. There's huge anger towards the U.S.
Palpable anger. And it boils over when Iranian militants storm the U.S. embassy in Tehran. Takes everyone inside hostage. It's all over the news globally.
But, and this is the crucial bit for Argo, amid all that chaos, 6 Americans managed to escape the embassy just before it's completely overrun.
Yeah, they slip out a side door or something. And they find refuge, secretly, at the home of the Canadian ambassador, Ken Taylor, played by Victor Garber in the movie.
So the U.S. government knows where these 6 are, but getting them out, that's the problem. It's incredibly risky. A standard military extraction is basically off the table.
Way too dangerous. Could get them killed, could spark an even bigger international incident. They needed something different.
Enter the CIA specialist, Tony Mendez. That's who Affleck plays. He's brought in initially just to look at the existing escape plans.
And he pretty much dismisses them straight away, right? Too conventional, too predictable, too likely to fail.
Exactly. He's the exfiltration expert, the guy supposed to think outside the box.
Yeah.
But where he gets his big idea from, it's almost comical.
It is. It wasn't from some top-secret briefing or military strategy session.
Nope. According to Mendez himself, the inspiration for his, let's call it, high-risk plan.
Yeah, suicidal was the word used in the source.
Right. It came from watching TV.
Yeah.
Specifically, Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
I mean, you couldn't make it up, could you? Watching this, like, B-movie sequel and thinking, fake movie production.
It led to the core concept. The 6 Americans hiding out would pose as a Canadian film crew.
Pretending to scout locations in Iran for some big, flashy sci-fi movie, the idea was it had to be something kind of outlandish, something that would justify scouting in quote-unquote exotic locales that were actually just Tehran during a revolution.
But you can't just show up and say, hi, we're filmmakers.
Oh, no.
Especially not then. They had to make it real.
Oh, yeah. They needed a whole fake production, a believable cover story, and for that, they needed actual Hollywood.
So Mendez gets his supervisor on board, Jack O'Donnell, played by Bryan Cranston, looking perpetually stressed out.
As you would be.
Right. And they head to L.A. to get help from, well, the most unlikely collaborators.
This is where the film gets its moments of levity, which it definitely needs. They connect with John Chambers, the makeup artist. John Goodman plays him.
And Chambers wasn't just some random choice, was he? He actually had a history with the CIA.
Yeah, a real history, helping them with disguises for agents. So he was already kind of in that world.
And Chambers brings in the cynical, old-school producer, Lester Siegel. Alan Arkin, just brilliant.
Oh, Arkin and Goodman together are fantastic. The source we read described their whole Hollywood scene as like the bastard child of Entourage and Mad Men.
That's perfect. They provide this necessary dose of like showbiz, cynicism, and humor that cuts through the tension. It grounds the absurdity somehow.
It really does.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just talk. They had to build this fake production from the ground up.
Right. It wasn't just fake business cards. They created a whole company, Studio 6 Productions.
Set up an actual office, had scripts, storyboards. They even had a title for their fake sci-fi epic, Argo.
And they didn't stop there. They took out trade ads in Variety and The Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah, to make it look completely legitimate, just in case anyone in Iran actually checked up on this supposed Canadian film crew, they went all in.
That level of detail is just astounding. It shows how much effort went into making the cover story plausible.
And the film itself does a good job capturing that blend of like revolutionary chaos and the inherent chaos of trying to make any movie, let alone a fake one.
Structurally, Affleck made some smart choices as director too, didn't he? Like the opening.
Oh yeah, the animated backstory, explaining the history, the U.S. involvement in Iran, why there was so much anger towards the Shah in America.
The source noted they could have felt a bit, I don't know, try hard or hip, but it actually worked really well.
It did. It gave you the necessary context quickly without getting bogged down in exposition right at the start, so you could understand the stakes.
And then boom, straight from that history lesson into the embassy attack.
Yeah, that opening sequence is brutal. Really throws you right into the mob, the panic, the tension, sets the tone immediately. You know this isn't going to be a comfortable watch.
And that tension, that's really the driving force of the whole film, is it? It affects the performances too.
Absolutely. Look at Bryan Cranston as O'Donnell back at Langley. He's just simmering the whole time, ready to explode. He represents that, like, bureaucratic pressure cooker.
While Affleck's Mendez has to be the opposite. He's on the ground with the hostages, the escapees. He has to be the calm center.
He has to be. Because if he cracks, if the CIA guy loses it, what hope do the 6 people relying on him have? It's all about maintaining that facade, both for the Iranians and for the Americans he's trying to save.
It's a really effective dynamic for a thriller.
But this brings us to the big question mark hanging over the film, the historical accuracy part.
Right, the dramatic license. And this became a major point of discussion, especially after it won Best Picture.
Affleck himself didn't shy away from it, did he? He admitted they took liberties.
No, he was pretty upfront. He made that distinction. The film is based on a true story, not this is a true story, which is a really important difference. Okay, so what kind of liberties are we talking about? What did they change and why?
Well, the main thing, according to the sources, is that the final act, the escape itself, it was amped up considerably for dramatic effect. Meaning the real escape, while obviously incredibly stressful for everyone involved, wasn't quite the nonstop, last-second nail-biter you see in the film.
Ah, okay. Like the scene with the Revolutionary Guards chasing the plane down the runway?
Pure Hollywood. Didn't happen. That was added purely to crank the tension up to, 11 for the climax.
Okay. And while that definitely makes for more exciting cinema, what's the downside?
The main criticism is that by focusing so heavily on Mendez and creating these extra obstacles, the film kind of downplays the role of others, particularly the Canadians.
Ambassador Ken Taylor, you mean?
Exactly. His role and Canada's role overall was apparently much more significant and sustained in the real operation than the film really gives credit for. The movie makes it seem almost entirely like Mendez's show on the ground.
So it simplifies things, compresses events, centralizes the heroism onto the main character.
Pretty much. It streamlines a complex, multifaceted international effort into a more focused, Hollywood-friendly narrative arc, maximum tension, maximum cinematic impact.
So the big question for you listening becomes, is that okay? Is taking that kind of license acceptable if the result is a more compelling Oscar-winning movie?
Well, the consensus seems to be that in the movie world, it's often allowed, or at least expected to some degree, especially if the film works as a film.
But there's a line, right, between maybe compressing timelines and actively changing key facts or minimizing crucial contributions.
There is, and Argo arguably does a bit of both. It definitely prioritized the thriller elements over sticking strictly to the historical record of who did exactly what and when.
So to wrap things up for you, you've heard about this wild intersection of global politics, Hollywood make-believe, and one guy's pretty incredible career turnaround.
It really highlights how a great story can emerge from the most unlikely circumstances, whether that story is perfectly factual or just, based on fact.
Definitely. It's a mix of tension, creativity, and redemption.
But it leaves us with a final thought, maybe something for you to chew on. Given that Argo's success, certainly its dramatic power, relied pretty heavily on taking that historical license, amplifying the danger, streamlining the narrative. It makes you think, doesn't it? When you hear based on a true story, how much are we willing to accept changes for the sake of a better film, especially when you're dealing with real events, real danger, real people's actions, and, significant international politics? Where's that line?
That's a really good question. Something to consider next time you see that phrase pop up on screen.
Definitely something to mull over.
All right, that's our deep dive for today. Until next time, keep digging.